All right, everyone, we're back from our short little break there. Trust me, in this age of the United States, one demographic is getting bigger and larger faster than we can take a look at. And that is the senior, well, I guess you say the niche of senior livers out there. People are getting older each day. One thing we guarantee, we're all getting older day by day, sometimes faster. So you're going to definitely want to take some notes here because Emmanuel is going to enlighten you on how you can use that niche and be able to target in a variety of ways to, as he likes to say, ride the silver tsunami, right, brother?
That's right.
So, hey, do you want to bring up your slides and I'll jump off here?
Well, it sounds good.
You want me to field questions throughout or just at the very end? What would you prefer?
We'll just do it at the very end. If we have some time left, we'll go ahead and do that.
All right, awesome. Take it away.
Awesome. Well, thank you, everyone, for coming out. Thank you, Scott, for that introduction. I'm excited to be here with you today. We're going to have a lot of fun. I'm going to go ahead and hide my camera right there. We'll jump into things. Well, my name is Emmanuel Guarino, and I'm here with the Residential Assisted Living Academy, and we're going to talk about residential assisted living today. So let's go ahead, let's jump right in. Make sure I got that. So the Residential Assisted Living Academy is where we teach on how to do residential assisted living homes. Now, we also do a lot of other things in the residential assisted living space, but today we're going to talk about how to take advantage of that massive opportunity, the silver tsunami, as we call it, with residential assisted living. The way that we're going to do that is with the one and done formula. I'm going to be showing you how to get to financial freedom in 6 months or less, not the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. We're talking 6 months or less, or even the next year. You know, if you had that money coming in, that $10,000, that $20,000 coming in each month, what would your life look like? And that's what we're going to talk about a little bit today, but let's go ahead, let's jump right into things. So right now there's a lot of opportunity, right? And we ask ourselves, are we at the top of the cycle? You know, where are we at right now? You know, for the last 10 years, 11 years, 12 years, we've been coming up, right? If you ask people right now, where are we? Are we at the top of the cycle? You know, the bottom? Well, right now, a lot of people would probably agree. We're probably closer to the top, and we're probably going to be trending a little bit downwards. Now, I'll talk about why residential assisted living is a great place to be, whether the market is doing awesome or whether the market is doing terrible, because everybody needs residential assisted living. Not everyone needs the Airbnb when times are bad, but everyone wants to make sure that their loved ones are definitely taken care of. So we're going to talk about the best opportunities right now and in the future and the outlook for the future. But I'm going to make a statement right now. I'm going to say you're working too hard. And what do I mean by that? You know, we've all heard it, work smarter, not harder. I put up some professions right here: a school teacher, mechanic, a nurse, an accountant, a police officer, an engineer, a firefighter, a doctor. They all work hard in those professions, but they all get paid very, very differently. Now, don't worry. You don't need to be a doctor or in the medical field or have 10 years of schooling to make this type of income that you see down here with the doctor. We're going to show you how to do that with residential assisted living, but it's about working smarter, not harder. For me, about 6-7 years ago, I was a waiter in a restaurant, and I remember working very, very hard. In fact, I remember when I was in college, the entire year, I made $15,000. That was working every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday night. Every night of the weekend, I was working, and I was working hard. And people were, not always so nice. This guy, I'd like a cheeseburger without cheese. So a hamburger? No, a cheeseburger without cheese. All right, sir, you got it. I'll get that for you, But when I made that switch to start working smarter, not harder, what happened is I got into real estate. When I got into real estate, that first year I made, or that first check that I made, you can see it right here. It's a little blurred out for obvious reasons, but I made $15,000 on my first real estate deal that I ever did. And I made more money doing work that took about 2 or 3 days than it took for me to get that entire last year. And that's when that concept hit for me. It's about working smarter, not harder. So what are the things that you want to do? So for us, where it started, my father, he was an executive. He was traveling around the world. He had the dream car, the dream house, the dream family, dream wife, all this stuff. And then what happened? The recession happened. And our world turned upside down. And it wasn't so good. And we hit bottom. We were grinding. My father, his company that he was working for, he was doing awesome, but the company went out of business. He said, oh man, I got to figure this out. And all of a sudden, it was like, well, the dream car is now turned into a Honda Fit. And the dream house that he had bought, he had converted and made so beautiful, he was now having to short sale. And he was having to rent a home for the first time since he was 18 years old. And I know that was hard for him. And he was grinding. He had 4 children. And then things only went from bad to worse. My grandmother lived in upstate New York. And we would go to visit her, each summer. And one summer, I remember we went up to go visit her. And we were sitting with her and we were going, well, I don't know if grandma's doing okay because, she left the stove on over here. And we asked her if she took her medicine. And she said, I don't remember. And, I don't think she should be driving on her own. And we realized that she needs someone to watch over her in this time. And so we started looking for options. And we were in a crisis because we said, we live in Arizona. She lives in upstate New York. We need to find a great place for her. But this crisis became our opportunity because my father remembered back about 20 years ago. He was at an event and there was a man on the front of the stage and he said, assisted living is where you need to be. This is the place. And at the end of that presentation, I remember my father, he said he ran up to the front of the room and he asked that gentleman, can you show me how to do this? And the gentleman said, well, I can't. He said, what do you mean you can't? He said, well, I don't actually do it. I just think you should do it. Okay. We've all met people like that. I don't do it, but you should do it. Not only do we own these homes, we also teach on them. We also sell these homes. We also have the Residential Assisted Living National Convention in addition to owning and operating these homes. But when we were starting, there was nobody out there to teach us. But that crisis, when the going got tough, my father said, it's time to figure this out. And that crisis became a massive opportunity. What my father found out was he wasn't alone in this. Other people's mothers and fathers needed high quality assisted living care and they just couldn't find it out there. When we went to look for my grandmother, we went to look at some residential assisted living facilities and they were small and dingy and they were expensive and they were just not a place where you'd want to put your loved one in. And the big boxes facilities, these large 300 bed facilities, they were full with a waiting list and they were really expensive. And we said, there's got to be something better because we don't want to warehouse, grandma, warehouse our loved one. We want them to be in a home, but there wasn't something really in the middle. And that's when my father had that aha moment. He realized he could do good and do well. He could help a lot of people. And by helping a lot of people, he could help himself, which is what that means. If you help enough people, you can achieve anything that you want. But this is what's important, your commitment. Without your commitment, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how easy something is or hard something is. If you are not committed, you will not achieve it. So your commitment is absolutely critical to success. When you do that, you can do anything that you put your mind to, but you got to get clear on your why. And when we talk about our why, many people say, well, I want to make some money. Why do you want to make some money? I was talking to someone the other day and he said, I need to make at least $4,000 a month. And I've been making $4,000 a month, but I really want to make $10,000 a month. I said, you know what? You're never going to make that $10,000 a month unless you make it a need because he needs to make $4,000. So what do you know? He makes the $4,000. But is your need stronger, than what's going on in your life right now? You got to get clear on that why. Why are you doing what you're doing? And with this, it's about helping other people. When you do that, first off, life is a lot more colorful. It's a lot more amazing because it's not about you anymore. It's about helping others. When you do that, that do good part, the do well part comes right back. So a lot of people say it's about money, but it's really not. It's about that purpose. So what is your purpose? So let's jump into this. Now, again, if you're committed, if you get clear on that why, we can show you how to do this step by step, one step at a time. So let's get right into it. The one and done formula. I always like starting off things by asking this. Right now you have goals, but is your plan simple? A lot of people say, we've all heard this before, 90% of the world's millionaires are millionaires through real estate. So why is everyone in real estate not millionaires? Let's think about that. A lot of people, when they get into real estate, they say, all I need is to do, 50 rental properties. If I do 50 rental properties, then I'll get there. And people say, well, that's easy. I just got to buy 50 of these homes and, I'm just going to put up 50 homes and just see how long this takes on the computer right here. but also we got to go to title and escrow, and we got to negotiate these deals. We got to hope that each one of these tenants is a good person. They're not throwing crazy house parties in there. And by the way, we got to hope nothing bad happens, and got to make sure it's the right deal, because one deal can kind of sink it all. And a lot of people go, well, this is my plan. All I need to do is find 50 or 100 of these perfect homes, raise the capital for it, because if you don't have just a massive check that you can write, you got to raise it. So now raising capital is your job. That's a lot. What we're doing is not 50 homes. We're doing one home, one residential assisted living, making very, very high income with one home, not 50 or 100. And I'll dive right into that. So I like doing things a little bit easier. Instead of cutting your grass with the scissors right here, go get a lawnmower, get somebody else to do it so you can go do the things that you want. Instead of having to buy 50 or 100 homes, do one and be done. The one and done formula. Now, I want to make a quick disclaimer right now. We only work with rich people. Whoa, trigger warning. I'm sure some people are mad. No, I'm not talking about this guy right here, all right? This is not what I'm talking about. This is what I'm talking about. Robert Kiyosaki. I always like asking rooms when I'm speaking around the country, if Robert, he lost all of his money, do we think that he would get it back eventually? The answer is always yes. Because Robert, his mindset is different than someone who's poor. Being rich and being poor has nothing to do with the amount of money that you have in your pocket. It has to do with your mindset. When you have the right mindset, you can achieve anything. Because Robert in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, what he talks about is a rich person, when they're confronted with a problem, they say, how can I do this? A poor person says, well, this is why I can't do this. When you say a statement like that, your brain shuts off. It stops asking questions. Your brain is like Google. You type in, how do I make more money? It's going to start searching for that answer. The more specific you get, the more specific that brain is going to start searching for that answer. So Robert, when he is down and out, he says, what can I do? How can I make this happen? He has a rich person's mindset. I love bringing up Robert Kiyosaki right here, but what about somebody like Elon Musk? Let's say he went on a podcast, hypothetically, and he started smoking a doobie and he lost all of his money. Do we think that he'd be able to get it back? Well, you know what? I think he would, because again, he's got a rich person mindset as well too. Are you a rich person or are you a poor person? Because a poor person says, well, I can't do it for this reason or that reason. We've all heard about this, the lottery winners. This guy right here, I want $128 million. Let me ask you, do the lottery winners, do they ever keep any of that money? Or do they almost instantly go broke? And then once they go broke, do they ever become rich again? No. The difference is a mindset. So we only work with rich people who say, you know what? When there's a challenge, how can I get through this? Because a poor person, when they're confronted with that challenge, they give up, they quit. And when you're a rich person, you can get through those challenges, you figure out a way. It's a barrier to entry. It keeps that competition out, which we're going to talk about here in just a second. So we only work with rich people. So the one and done formula. We're going to show you how to make more with one single family home than an 80-unit apartment complex. You don't need to work 40 hours a week, and you can do this in 6 months or less. So again, there's a lot of opportunities out there. Real estate, oil and gas, stock market, precious metals, offshore investing, cryptocurrency, cannabis, and senior housing. Now, some of these others, again, they could be good, but why do we focus on senior housing? Well, let's talk about that. And let's first talk about options for a single family home. Because some people say, I want to get into real estate. They say, I want to do fix and flips. And that can be good. You can get that cash now, but once you fix it and you flip it, you need to go look for another deal and another deal and another deal. And you're that hunter out there having to hunt every single day. And that can get tiring after a while. And by the way, there's a lot of people who want those same deals. High competition. Rental homes. I love rental homes, but if they're cash flowing a couple $100s a month, how many of those do I really need to not only get by, but to thrive? To really live. $100 was really good back when I was in high school, but as an adult, that can't really do that much for me. So what about renting it out to a group home? This is something we'll talk about a little bit later. That might be $1,000 a month or a little bit more. That could be an option. But what about Airbnb? My wife and I, we love to travel. We practically keep Airbnb and VRBO open. We love traveling. However, I talked about this. What's the first thing to go when a recession hits? Are a lot of people Airbnb-ing right now? Absolutely not. A lot of people are going to be wanting to travel when that scarcity mindset sets in. Oh, we can't do this, we can't do that. That's the first thing to go, all those frivolous expenses. You know, my wife and I were in the car the other day. We were talking about, look at all the businesses that are doing badly right now. Look at all the businesses that are doing great right now. My wife and I, we went to, there's a restaurant right by us called Raising Cane's. It's a chicken restaurant. And we said, let's just go get some Raising Cane's. The line is wrapped around the building about 3 times, about 45-minute wait at a fast food restaurant. You know, some places do very well. Dollar Generals are going to do very well during recessions. And senior housing, one of the reasons why I love it was because when we went through that recession and times were tough, I said, I don't want to experience that again. And so why do I love residential assisted living? Well, during recessions, again, are you going to get rid of the vacation? Are you going to get rid of taking care of mom or dad? You know, I was selling a care home a couple years ago. That's what I do, is I sell residential assisted living homes. And I was asking one of my clients, I said, how did you do during the last recession? And his answer to me was, what recession? And I said, whoa, I really like that answer. And he talked about it. He said, yeah, you know, I had a lot of friends doing this and doing that. They were really struggling. But for us, people need to take care of mom or dad. This is their loved one. This is the one who gave them life. We care about those people, especially at this time of their lives. People don't give up that expense. They give up that Airbnb. So let's talk about this massive opportunity. The baby boomers, people born between 1946 and 1964. There's a lot of them. It's a massive opportunity, the silver tsunami. And when we talk about being in the right place at the right time, you know, I'd much rather be the bear than the fish. You know, I know some people are, you know, doing fix and flips. It's like, I got 20 flips going on right now. And well, you might be the fish right now. I'd much rather be the bear. In our last speaker, they brought up Les Brown. I love Les Brown. He has a quote. He says, it's better to be prepared without an opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. That opportunity is here and it's now. It's not only today and tomorrow, it's for the next 10, 20 years. You know, we have an aging population. Look at these guys, the Stones. You got, you know, Charlie Watts, you got, you know, Mick Jagger, you got, you know, the whole gang. And then you got, you know, Keith Richards over there at 307. And you know what? Relatively speaking, he still looks pretty good for 307, but we have an aging population right now. One of our speakers at our last Residential Assisted Living National Convention was Harry Ested Jr. And in his book, The Demographic Cliff, the New York Times bestseller, he says the opportunity of our lifetimes in real estate development and investing is likely to be in nursing homes and assisted living facilities. Massive opportunity. That's what I like in my life. So this is from Emerging Trends in Real Estate from the 2019 survey. Blue is buy, gold is hold, and orange is sell. On the top right there, you see senior housing. Buy. Why are they saying that? Because it's not only good for today, it's good for tomorrow. Buy. On the bottom, we see high income apartments. I'm sorry, Grant. That's, you know, not a good place to be right now, exactly. The investment prospects on the bottom right, excellent. On the bottom left, abysmal. On the top, we got senior housing. On the bottom left, vacation homes. Again, I love vacation homes. It's great when the economy is doing good, but what about when it's not doing good? So again, the demographics. So I'm going to make a guarantee. And I'm going to guarantee that you're going to get involved in assisted living in one way or another. You can either own the home, you can either pay someone to live in their home, or you can write the check for a loved one to live in someone else's home. The choice is up to you. And we're going to talk about that. When you see these numbers and you see how much it costs to put someone in assisted living, you're going to see why it might make a lot of sense to, even if you just do one. So that way when you need this care or a loved one needs care, you're prepared. The question is, how are you going to get involved? So let's talk about this, the stats and the facts. Right now, there's 77 million baby boomers in the US alone. There are 10,000 people a day turning 65 years old. That's a lot of people. But here's what's amazing about this. Right now, there's about 4,000 people a day turning 85 years old. Now, the person who's 65 is not in assisted living, not in what we're doing. But notice there's 10,000 people a day turning 65. Currently, right now in the US, there's about 1.4 million beds for assisted living in the country. Now, if you take that number 4,000, you times it by 30, you times it by 12, the number you get is roughly about 1.4 million people every single year. Think about that for a second. That is not even that silver tsunami coming in behind it of 10,000 people a day who are turning 65 years old. When we talk about the opportunities for today, the opportunity is now, but the opportunity is in the future as well. Massive, massive opportunity. Now let's talk about this. 90% of seniors would rather stay in their own home. Why is this important to know? Because why doesn't everybody just live in their own home? Well, it's very, very expensive to have someone come into your home and take care of you when you need that help with your activities of daily living. The going rate is about $25 an hour to have a company hire someone out to bring them into your home. That's very, very expensive. Full-time service, round the clock, 24 hours a day, about $20,000 to $25,000 each month. That's a lot. Not many people can afford that. I know some people in that business, they say out of about 100 clients, you'll have about 2 or 3 who are doing that full-time around the clock. It's a lot. It's expensive. So why doesn't everyone just move into a big box? Well, let's think about that. You move in, you've been living on your own for the past 30 years, and then you go move into a building of 300 strangers. Not necessarily the path that I want to take. And also, if I have to walk 400 yards to get to the breakfast hall, is that really convenient for someone who's in their 80s, in their 90s? Definitely not. Now, 70% of them will need daily care for an average of 3.5 years. They need a home. They need assistance. They need you. These stats, by the way, are provided by AARP. I mentioned my name is Emmanuel Guarino. That's my beautiful wife, Rebecca, on the right there. And she and I are both graduates of Arizona State University. I have a degree in health and wellness. She has a degree in human and family development. And what we do is we own residential assisted living homes. We teach on how to do these. And she and I also sell these homes. And we're very, very blessed to be able to do what we do. And she and I were blessed recently enough. We just flew over to Holland and we did a TED Talk over there. And we just got back and hey, good timing with that one because nobody's flying over to Europe nowadays. So less competition. You know, one of the reasons why Beck and I love selling residential assisted livings and owning residential assisted livings is less competition. There's some barriers to entry. You know, in Arizona, it's actually required when you get your driver's license to also get your real estate license. Now, I'm just joking. It's not, but it really does feel like that. There's about 40,000 realtors in the U.S. or in Arizona. And, you know, Beck and I are the #1 residential assisted living realtors here in Arizona. But let me ask you, is it harder to be #1 out of 40,000 or #1 out of 10 or 15? Less competition. We love it. You know, fixing and flipping. A lot of people say, I want to get into that. But what they soon find out is, man, every time these two air an episode, Chip and Joanna, there's about 10,000 people who want to jump in and grab one of these deals that's new on the market. There's a lot of people getting on the bandwagon every time an episode is aired. Now, my father, Gene Guarino, my personal hero, you know, the founder of the company, he bought his first residential property at the age of 18. He bought his first commercial property at the age of 25 and has owned over 22 businesses over the past 41 years. He's trained over 300,000 people worldwide. He's written 4 books, hosted 3 radio shows, most recently Second Wind Success, all about helping baby boomers find their second wind in life and in business, and a #1 bestseller book as well, Investing in Senior Housing. And I'm going to show you how to get a copy of this as well today. Now, on the personal side, he's been married for 33 years with 4 wonderful children, 1 extremely exceptional child as well, and he's got 2 grandchildren. Bit of a joke.
I was going to say you're probably his favorite, right?
Hey, you know, I didn't say that, but you know, I like to think I am. Anyways, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. You know, for most of us listening, you probably read this book. When I got handed this book, that's when it really opened my eyes to real estate investing. And in this book, he talks about getting out of the rat race. If your expenses are higher than your income, right, or your passive income, then you are in the rat race. You need to go to work every day to support living. So the idea is, how do we have enough assets that support our lives so we don't have to go into work every day? You know, and when we first met Robert Kiyosaki, I remember I read through the book and it felt like 20 minutes. I just read through it so quickly. And I remember about 2 weeks after that, Gene and I were at an event and Robert looked over at our way. We said, oh my goodness, that's Robert Kiyosaki. And he walked over to my father and myself and he said to my dad, he goes, hey, you're the assisted living guy. I've got some questions for you. And my head at that moment just went, I couldn't believe, moment of zen. What an incredible moment. He said, I got a property and I'm thinking about turning it into a big assisted living facility. What do you think? And so that was a number of years ago. But when my father and Robert were speaking on a stage last a number of months ago, he asked him, he said, how's that project going? He said, it's going great. I just got approved for a $114 million loan for an assisted living facility. My dad said, that's great. But here's the thing, everybody. We're not doing a $114 million assisted living facility. We're doing one residential assisted living home or two. All right. So deep breath. All right. But why is Robert getting into this? You know, Robert is a big studier of demographics of what's going on in the world. He sees that the people who are in assisted living currently is the silent generation, about 47 million people. But he sees that big spike that's coming. You know, that baby boomer spike, 10,000 people a day. At its peak, it's about 11,500 people a day turning 65 years and older. The demographics are there. It's coming. Are you prepared? My father, he was asked to speak at Harvard, and my sister and I said, well, you didn't even graduate college. She and I did, but he didn't. And he was asked to speak on assisted living. And while he was there, he, ran into this guy. You may recognize him, the world's most interesting man. And I remember my father, he was talking to him and he said, what are you doing here? And he said, well, I was the world's most interesting man and I was let go. He said, you were let go? What happened? He said, well, I went in one day and I read the script and it said, you're heading to Mars and you're not coming back. And in that moment, boom, he was fired after being the world's most interesting man for 7 years, getting paid $3 million a year. And, a lot of people might be listening and they're like, nothing bad could happen to me. But look at how many people, one flu comes into the world and how many people are, boom, let go. Are you prepared for not only the good times, but when there's that recession, when you need to have something that has that stable income coming in? For a lot of people, it's, hey, I'm dealing with this boss and they're yelling at me and this and that. Now that boss is firing me. Guys, I'm here to tell you, if the world's most interesting man can get fired, anyone can get fired. I love this quote right here. Imagine, if you will, spending your entire life working to make someone else's dream come true instead of your own. Seriously, guys, you got to wake up. You got to be ready for that opportunity, that destiny. Take advantage of it. My father met Jonathan. He said, what do you think about residential assisted living? And he said, residential assisted living is the most interesting thing that I've heard my entire time here at Harvard. And he's been an awesome guy. We had him out to our last national convention as well. I smoked a couple of cigars with him. I never smoke cigars, but hey, I'm not about to pass up that opportunity right there. But Jonathan said, hey, I want to get into this. And he had some questions. And these might be some questions that you're having as well. One of them is, can I do this if I'm not in the medical field? And the answer to that question is, you do not need to be in the medical field to do this. You're not working in the home. You're not working in the business. You're working on the business. And we'll show you how we set that up. The next question is, can I use a home I own now for this? And the answer to that question is, well, maybe. But realistically, it's probably not a rental property that you own today. I'll get into a little bit of the real estate and kind of what we're looking for so you get a little bit better idea for that, but bigger homes, nicer homes. And then this one, how much can I make doing this? The money question. Don't worry, we'll make sure to dive into that. So let's look at this. What is residential assisted living? Well, it's a group home for seniors that provides assistance with their activities of daily living. So what is an activity of daily living? Cooking, cleaning, getting up and out of bed. These are things that, when you get older, start to become a little bit tougher. We're not doing medical care. What I want you to think about when you think of senior housing, really 3 levels. The first one is independent living. This might be someone who's 65, just kind of a big community where a lot of people live together, but it's independent. They don't really need any help. The next level is assisted living. When someone's getting older, they don't necessarily need medical attention. Some people just get a little bit older and they just need help, just living life. That is who we are working with. The step after that is called a skilled nursing facility. And that is medical. That is doctors and nurses. That's not what we're doing. We're doing assisted living, activities of daily living. So what does it look like? Well, it's Not this. This is your typical nursing home. I always say if you put up a barbed wire fence up here and some machine gun turrets at the top, it kind of looks like a prison, right? And for a lot of people, they go, I don't want to stay in something like that. I'd much rather stay in my own home, but it's really expensive to do that, just like we talked about. When we talk about the big facilities, some of you listening have tried to put a loved one into an assisted living facility, and you said, you know what, that's not where I want to put my mom or my dad. A couple months ago, I had someone reach out to me, and they said, I'm selling an assisted living facility, and I want to sell it to one of your students. I want to wholesale it to them. And I explained to them that that's not really what we do. We do a residential assisted living. It's different. And they said, I really want to sell it to them. Let me send over the photos. I just took these photos. You're going to love it. And they sent over 2 photos. And this was one of them. And let me ask you something. Is this where you want to spend some of your last days? Absolutely not. I know that's not where I want to put my loved ones. This is what we're fighting. This is why we are so passionate about what we're doing, that do good part. We have a much better solution for this assisted living need that we have in this country. So this is why we're so passionate about it. We don't want them to be in this. We want them to be in a great home where they feel comfortable and they can be happy and enjoy this amazing time that they have to spend with their loved ones and others. So what else is it? It's not this either, right? The Golden Girls, Betty White and the gang hanging out with each other. It's not that, all right? It's also not this. The rental property. Hey, Manny, I got the perfect home. It's 2 bedrooms, 1 bath. I think we put about, 8 people in this home. It's not this, all right? It's not a rental property. Understand that. It's this. This is an example of one of our homes in Phoenix, Arizona. Now, this home, as you notice, as we go through a couple of our homes that we own and we operate, you notice a couple things about them. First is single level. Does it have to be single level? No, it doesn't. But ideally, it's a little bit easier for them to get around. Can we do it in 2 or 3 story homes? Absolutely. We have plenty of students who do that, but ideally, it's in a single family home or a single level home. The other thing you notice is this looks like a home. This doesn't look like a facility. This looks like a place where you go, hey, I wouldn't mind staying in here. And the third thing is these are nicer homes. These are not in war zones, bad areas. These are safe, great areas, nicer homes, single level. That's more what we're looking for. So what does it look like on the inside? Well, it looks like a home. But instead of, 2 kids, 2 parents, and a dog, it might be 10 elderly residents in that home with a couple of caregivers overseeing them, taking care of their activities of daily living. It's a home. So what about this? Manny, I know you said it's a nicer home, nicer area, but I got this 2 bedroom, 1 bathroom rental property that I really want to turn into an assisted living. Can I put 10 or 12 people in a room and things like that? No, that's not what we're doing. In fact, a shared room is usually your lower level room. I usually ask the audience when I'm speaking across the country, if you were staying in a hotel tonight, would you rather stay in a room with a stranger with no bathroom in it? Or would you stay in a private room with a bathroom in it? Most people say, I'd rather stay in my own room. And I would have to agree with them. So with private rooms, you can usually get a premium for those rooms. And that's something that we teach. So shared rooms are kind of lower level. Think of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I kid, all right? But this shows you that more people would rather have their own room. We don't want the shared rooms, and we'll talk about that. Private rooms. So what about inside the home? A couple things we notice here. There's more women than men. And the reason for that is because they're killing us off, guys. That's what's going on. No, I'm joking. That's not what's happening. But you notice in this home, they're having a good time. They're having a beverage. Don't worry. It's O'Doul's. There's nothing to worry about. But I show you this to just show you that it's not doctors and nurses. It's a home. It's a family that's in here. And they're friends, and they're having a good time. They're enjoying themselves. So let's jump into this, the 3 best ways to get involved. There's 2 parts of this, the real estate and the business. The first way to get involved is to own the real estate and lease it to an operator. Let's talk about this. So one of the reasons why you might want to do this, leasing it to someone to run one of these homes, is you can usually get up to twice the fair market rent. The reason for that is simple supply and demand. There's not a lot of people who have a home that they say, I want to lease it out to someone for this because they don't quite understand it, or it's not in the right area, or it's not the right property for this. So because of supply and demand issue, usually what you see is you can get up to twice the fair market rent. A really cool thing. Long-term, low-impact tenants. The tenant in this situation, someone who's running that residential assisted living home, is not living there for 6 months, 3 months, 9 months, a year. It might be a 3 to 5 year lease that you sign with a 3 to 5 year renewal tacked on to the end of that. And then this part, low impact tenants. It's not we're raising Rottweilers and pit bulls in the spare bedrooms. No, it's, a low impact tenant. Think of it this way. The Outback Steakhouse leases that land from someone. They want it, when you walk into that Outback Steakhouse, to smell like steaks, to smell really good. They want it to look good. They want it to feel good. It's the same idea with this. They want people to come into their home and stay there. They want it to look good, feel good. So now your tenant is kind of working for you in that way, making sure that property is doing good. And then this one, significant residual income. If you're able to charge an extra $1,000 or $2,000 a month, that's falling to the bottom line, significant residual income. So some of you are saying, hey, I want to do that option, but I want to show you this as well. Own the real estate and operate the business. This is the way that we do it, and this is really the way for a lot of people that we recommend, and I'll show you why. Putting up this number, $10,000 a month per month net cash flow for life. If you had this amount coming in each month, would you be able to squeeze by? I mean, be honest, really, would you be able to squeeze by? Barely. I want you to ask yourself, if that's what I need to get to, how do I get there as fast as possible? Is it 100 rental properties, or is it one residential assisted living home? Well, let's jump into that. How much does assisted living cost? For a lot of people, they have no idea. And I want to show you this website here, www.genworth.com/cost of care. Now, there's about 30,000 residential and big assisted living facilities across the country. About the vast majority of those are residential assisted living facilities, about 20,000 of those, I believe. And what this organization does is they reach out to these facilities and they find out, how much do people pay to be in your home? And they ask them different questions. And this is the information they get back from those surveys. They get about 18,000 of those back each year. The national average across the US is $4,051. Whoa, that's a lot. Well, think about it. Think about your own expenses each month right now, between food, your house, car, entertainment. For most people in America, that's probably somewhere between $3,000 and $5,000 a month. So here, $4,000 a month, kind of right in the middle there. This $4,000 each month is covering everything. That's all inclusive. And that's the average, by the way. There's people paying 2 to 3 to 4 times that. That's not necessarily where we want to focus. I'll show you where our sweet spot is, but this is the average. I want to show you that. So some big cities across the US, Phoenix, $3,850. Los Angeles, $4,500. Denver, $4,700. Portland, $4,800. Honolulu, $5,750. Now, this is a little bit different than conventional single-family home real estate investing. A lot of times for that type of investing, people say, go to the bad areas, the worst ghettos in our whole country. That's not what we're doing. In nicer areas, if I want to live in Honolulu, I'm going to have to pay to live in Honolulu. So location is incredibly important. It's not just let's put up a home. If we build it, they will come. There's a rhyme and a reason why we put up homes in certain areas. So with that being said, nicer areas, people want to pay more to be in those. And I'll show you why that's important. And I have New York there, $5,916. Average. So where does that money come from? Paid by Medicare or subsidized by the VA. If someone does not have any money, the government will chip in a little bit, but that's usually about $2,000 a month. Now, again, that's if you have no money at all. They're not just giving money for the sake of giving money. They need to make sure that you don't have any money. So if you don't, that would be one way. Subsidized by the VA. So if you've served in war, there's also benefits that you can receive. That's one way. Life insurance policies. Sometimes people have a life insurance policy. They say, we don't want to pay for this. They sell that off early. That's one way to do that as well. Long-term care insurance. We've heard of auto insurance, health insurance, long-term care insurance. What is that? That's for assisted living care. And usually when someone has one of those long-term care insurance policies, that's a very, very positive thing, because usually that's for a very high amount that insurance company will pay out each month, $200, $300 a day for them to live there. So $200 times 30, $6,000 a month that insurance company is writing every single month for them to live in your home. So when someone has one of these, that's awesome. Cash, IRAs, investments, primary residence. We're on a real estate investing webinar right now. You're learning how to get money so when you get to this point, you can pay off, what you need to live in an assisted living. So when we think about that, you can't take it with you, that concept. They're selling it off. This is maybe one of their last stops. So they're selling that off. And then the last one, let the kids figure it out. I took care of them, let them take care of me. Pause. Red is bad. Gold is good. Even if you're just going to do one of these homes, do it for yourself. I mean, what is your plan right now? If you needed this care for a loved one or for yourself, what is your plan? I want you to think about that. Those numbers are real. And some of you say, well, I'll just put my mom or dad in the $2,000 a month one. You remember that rental property I pulled up earlier? Would you want to put your mom or dad in a home like that? I wouldn't want to put my mom or dad in a home like that. So be prepared. Consciously think, I need to get prepared for this opportunity, and then take action. So let's talk about this, that $10,000 a month. I put up that number here, $4,000 per month. That was kind of the national average, 4,051. I have 4,000 here for easy math. And we're going to say we have a home that's licensed for 10 beds. 10 beds! Manny, my rental property in the ghetto can only fit 2 people in it. Guys, it's not a rental property in the ghetto. This is a bigger home, a nicer home. We might be converting the garage. We might be adding on some space to this home. We might have a large master bedroom that we're putting up a wall in between and making it into private bedrooms instead of one large room. So we show you how to do that, but we're converting some space. It's a bigger home. It's a nicer home. So $4,000 per month per resident in the home license for 10. That gives us a potential monthly gross income of $40,000 a month. Now, we still have something we need to subtract, our overhead each month. So our typical expenses, I'm going to put 2 numbers down here. And you see we have cable, internet, phone, newspaper, magazine, food and supplies, insurances, property taxes, business license, caregivers, facility managers. I have the expenses over here. Those are the expenses on a month-to-month basis. And I put 2 numbers down here, $25,000 and $15,000. Now there's a big difference between these 2 numbers. Obviously $10,000, but the real difference is this. Are you working on your business or in your business? Some people say, well, I've heard somebody had one of those and they worked all day long and they were there all the time. And that person does not own a business. That business owns them. They work in their business. They have a job. They don't have a business. For us, that $25,000 in expenses, what that means, the difference between those 2 numbers is we get to work on our business. We don't have to be there every day. We have caregivers who are in the home taking care of the residents and a manager overseeing those homes. Then that manager just reports back to us and we make sure everything's going good. That's what owning a business is all about. I put up a photo of this guy. He's got 400 businesses. He lives on a private island in the middle of the ocean, hangs out with celebrities all day long. And by the way, 400 businesses doesn't have one single desk. He runs businesses. Other people, when they tell you, well, you're going to have to work 25 hours a day and 8 days a week, they got a job. That business runs them. They don't run that business. Big difference. So for us, we're going to put in the higher number here, $25,000. We're missing one last thing, the debt service. I'm going to put a number here. So this is, that monthly payment for the home. I'm going to put $5,000 a month. Now I want you to ask yourself, for $5,000 a month, can you get a average to slightly above average home for $5,000 a month in this country? Again, you don't need to do this home where you are. You can do one of these homes wherever you want. We got students who do it from across country lines, let alone state lines. You can do one wherever you want. So in this country, can you get a nice home for $5,000 a month? That one home is bringing in $10,000 a month. Let that sink in for a second. For some of you, you said, that's my goal. If I got 10,000, I'm breathing easy. I'm feeling good. Then what are you waiting for? Why are you trying to accumulate a zillion rental properties? One home, the one and done formula. That one home over the course of a year, $120,000 of cash flow. Now, again, the first thing I said with that was 4,000 was kind of the average. So what about a nicer home? Let's look at this. Let's say we have a nicer home. Maybe it's more boutique. It's a little bit smaller, and it's licensed for 6 residents. That's going to give us a potential monthly gross income of $45,000 for the debt service. Again, same home, but maybe those rooms are bigger. Maybe the home's in a little bit nicer location. We can give better care. Our expenses are the same. We can give better care, bigger rooms. They're paying more. So that one home, $15,000 a month. $10,000 was good. 15 is better. $180,000 over the course of the year. Now, I don't know if you read that book, The Goldilocks and the Three Bears. The porridge is too hot, it's too cold, it's just right. What about instead of going, really high end or, bigger, what if we did a bigger home and, kind of somewhere in the middle of those? So how big can we really take this? Let's say we have one home, $6,000 per person per month. By the way, in New York, that's about the average of what they're doing right there. That's not even way out of the stratosphere. That's almost the average. Let's say we have a home license for 16 beds. Manny, I don't have a 16-bedroom home. I know you don't. This is a home that you would be converting or buying an existing or building. And we walk you through that process. When you know what you're looking for, it's like the red Corvette syndrome. When you buy that red Corvette, you're the only person on the road with it. But then when you start looking for it, all of a sudden you start seeing everybody has a red Corvette. And I know some of you are thinking that right now. You go, you know what? I know a property that could be perfect for this. I know how we could chop it up and convert it so that way we have more bedrooms, more bathrooms. That's what we're talking about. That's that rich person talking versus the poor person talking. By the way, you're supposed to be off the webinar by now. I gave you the disclaimer. So that one home, $96,000 a month of gross income, $36,000 for the expenses and vacancies. It's a nicer home, nicer food, nicer location. Let's talk about that. $10,000 a month of debt service or rent. Whoa, Manny, I can't afford a home for $10,000 a month. I can't. Stop the stinking thinking. Stop saying, why can't I do this? Start thinking, how can I do this? Ask yourself a better question. What if I went to someone and said, I want to rent a home from you for $10,000 a month for the next 5 years? Do you think there might be somebody out there who might be interested in helping you out with that? Absolutely. But you got to start asking yourselves the right questions. That one home, $50,000 a month of cash flow, $600,000 over the course of the year. Now, what if you royally screwed that up and you only made half of that number? You only made $300,000. Would you be okay with that? I think for a lot of us, you're going, absolutely. So what are you waiting for? One home, not 1,000. Well, this might take more work than buying one rental. Absolutely. But again, what is your goal? Why haven't you reached those goals yet? And what is your why? Get clear on those things and the path will provide itself. So I know right now it kind of feels like this. It's like, okay, whoa, no, pause. You're supposed to make $200 a month off a home or $1,000, not that much. This is what we're talking about, that opportunity, not just for today, but for tomorrow as well. So let's talk about this. Maybe you're saying, you know what? I got all the money in the world. I don't necessarily want to, run the home myself, but maybe you want to be that private lender or joint venture partner. You got millions in your pocket and you just want to be lending on this. Again, a great way to do it. Be the money side of things. So let's go over this. The 5 keys to success in residential assisted living. We're going to touch on this one right now. The location. When you think about the location for residential assisted living, I want you to think about it in 5 levels. Level 1 is high end, the nicest home in the nicest area. And level 1 is the low end. Tri-level trailer park. You better be carrying a gun when you're going through that neighborhood. Level 2, that's kind of okay. Level 3, level 4, that's our sweet spot. That's where we want to be. Because in the pyramid of things at the tippy top, yeah, there are people paying $10,000, $15,000 a month to live in assisted living, but we don't necessarily want to be there. And we don't want to be at the bottom, $2,000 a month, because if our expenses are $25,000 and we're bringing in $20,000 is a lot of money, but they need to be higher than our expenses. So we want to be in that sweet spot because they're paying a good amount, and there's also a lot of people in that part of the market. That's our sweet spot. That's where we want to focus. Now, I want to show you this. I don't know if some of you heard about this. 50 Cent was going to sell his Connecticut mansion, and someone said, you know what? I think this would make a great nursing home. And when you look at it, this is on Zillow, 21 bedrooms, 35 bathrooms, 51,000 square feet. Could that make a pretty good residential assisted living? I think so. Let's look at it. You know, level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think this is about a level 7. I mean, this is incredible. Look at this, 2 pool tables. You got a basketball court inside. You got a basketball court outside. Oh man, you got a weight room. Let's keep the residents strong. You know what I mean? Let's keep them pumped up, things like that. You got a pool inside. You got a second pool inside. And you got an amazing kitchen area to provide the food for the residents. And then you got a dining area. Wow, what an incredible home. But there was one problem. He wanted $19 million for this property. That's a lot. But what did Les Brown say? Let's talk about that in a second. Rapper 50 Cent sells massive Connecticut mansion for almost $16 million less than he originally asked. He sold it for $2.9 million. What did Les Brown say? It's better to be prepared without an opportunity than to have an opportunity and not be prepared. You know, we're coming up on times in our country where we've got a big thing going on. You know, and yeah, there's some bad stuff going on, but you know what happens when there's that recession? Massive opportunity presents itself. And you got to be prepared to take advantage of those opportunities. So I know at this point, some of you are saying, you know what? This is really cool. How can I learn more? How can I do this? And I want to show you this. How can we do this? And I got a few minutes left, so I'll go through that. But some of you are saying, I want to do this. I can see myself doing this. I want to do good and do well. That's awesome. So what I want to show you here is our Assisted Living Business Accelerator. It's what we call our home study course. You can do all online. You don't have to travel anywhere. It's done online. You can download the transcripts and the worksheets as you're going through. Gene is an incredible instructor, and he does the whole presentation for you. You're going to learn how to find the right location for your REL, how to choose the right home, how to use the Fair Housing Act to your advantage. Instead of that Fair Housing Act working against you, it works for you because you cannot discriminate against the elderly. We go into that. How to give an effective tour to fill your home and how to renovate it for success in residential assisted living. Again, once you go through a section, you take a little quiz, you make sure that you retain the information, and it also comes with worksheets for you. So as you're going along, you make sure that you're understanding each thing that's going on. That first course, REL 101, total value $997. The second thing, what you're going to learn, RAL operations. It's going to show you how to create your own policies and procedures. If this happens, then that happens. How to provide the right activities for the residents. You know, they got to be entertained. How do we do all that? We show you exactly what that entails. How to assess the residents and the families to determine if they're the best fit for your REL home. You don't have to accept everyone into your home. We show you exactly why that's the case. That's that Fair Housing Act working for us. Again, not against us. Find the right managers and the caregivers fast. Again, all online. Gene is an incredible instructor. And when you take it, he makes sure that you're retaining that information. Again, that comes with the worksheets as well. That's the first two things, REL 101 and operations. But the third thing, which is incredibly important as well, is the business side. So what you're going to learn here is how to choose the right business structures for this type of business, how to choose the best financing options. So whether you have all the money in the world or whether you have no money, we show you how to do that, purchasing using your money or other people's money. How to structure your business plan, how to attract investors to your REL project, and then this, how to evaluate existing residential assisted living businesses and more. So again, all done online, and you can go through it as many times as you want. You can go through 2 minutes a day, 10 minutes a day, 10 hours a day. That's up to you how fast you want to go through that. So those are the first three things. Then this one, 6 months of a monthly webinar with Gene and myself going through whatever questions that you have. Those webinars are awesome. And one of the coolest things about them is that you have questions as you're going through, but other people have questions as they're going through. And you may not have thought of that. And someone else goes, wow, that's a great question that you had. And we have these discussions and we go through those questions. And I just love it because there's going to be times you say, well, what about this? I want some more clarification. You got that with that monthly webinar for 6 months. And then this, your REL Associate Certification. The reason why this is important is this shows that you know what you're doing. When you go out and try to raise that capital, they want to know that you know what you're doing. You know how to take care of the residents, how to make sure that you're doing the home in the right areas, all of these things. And more importantly as well, it shows that you are the right person to be doing this. That total value there, $997. Total value, $5,185. Now, again, this is for you here on the webinar today. I'm going to be doing something special for you. We usually do that for $1,997. And I'm going to talk about something special that we're going to do for you, so stick around for that here in just a second. But I want to talk on this. Who is this worked for? People always ask me, who's the best students? Who's this? Who's that? This and that. We've had people come from all walks of life. I got the college degree. I got this job. I got all this experience. But here's the number one thing that we see the correlation for people who do this and start those homes. They have a strong why. If your why is strong enough, you can do anything. If your why is not strong enough, you can do nothing. You need to make sure you have that strong why. So Sean, that was his case. He took the home study course. He started his first home. Then he started his second home. Now he's on his way to his third and fourth home. But he was traveling around the country. He was a high-paid executive, and he said, I'm getting paid a lot of money, but I don't get to spend any time with my kids and my family and my wife. I can't do this anymore. So he left that, and he got into this, and now he's on his way to his third and fourth home, well replacing his income that he had before and loving what he's doing, loving the lifestyle that it brought him. Sean, his home is 2 stories. You see it right in the back there. He's in Houston. He's doing awesome. Carla Lee, when she came out to the class, she was in her, mid-20s, and she was like this. She got dragged along by her partner. She didn't even want to go to the class. But, when she took the course and she said, this is what I need to be doing. She didn't start 1 home or 2 homes or 3 homes. She ended up starting 9 homes in less than 3 years. 9 homes in less than 3 years. I showed you the numbers. A lot of people say, hey, 1's great, but imagine having 9 homes over the course of the next 3 years. Incredible. She has done an amazing job, and it's just fascinating what you can do when you put your mind to it. Jenna and Scott, we talk about doing good and doing well. Scott was a corporate attorney, and within that first year, they had 4 REL homes, and he was able to quit his job of being a corporate attorney. And we're really proud at the Residential Assisted Living Academy because it's all about doing good first, doing well second. And we think we've done a lot of good here by helping the world have 1 less attorney in it. We think that's a really cool thing. I'm joking. Oh, don't get mad. I see the comments blowing up right now. That's okay. But they're a family business. Just like I'm in a family business with my father, my sisters, and my wife, my brother-in-laws. It's great because they get to work with their family. These 2, they're in Gilbert. I actually helped them buy their home. They looked at about 50 to 60 homes. Kevin was a police officer. Heather was a nurse. And they said, what? He's in the line of duty. He needs to get out of this job. He needs to be safe. And they wanted to spend more time with their 3 amazing daughters. And they said, we got to find something so that way we don't need to go into these jobs. She was working a zillion hours, but they started their first residential assisted living home. This was last year. And I checked in with them about 4 or 5 months ago. And I said, how are you doing? They said, we're doing great. Right now, their numbers are worked out is about $4,500 per resident per month, 10 residents in the home, $45,000 each month. And their expenses were in that $20,000 to $25,000 mark. And they were making right around that $15,000 to $20,000 each month. And what's amazing about that is they've doubled their income and been able to quit their jobs and be able to spend that time with their daughters. And by the way, he was saying, Manny, get me more of these homes. We want to do 4 of them. Imagine doing 4 of those, $60,000 a month. That's incredible what you're able to do when you put your mind to it. Lo, he's in Dallas, 5 residential assisted living homes, and now he's working on 2 80-bed facilities. How big do you want to take this thing? Hal, he was in Minnesota. He moved down to Arizona because he said, what? Can I do this across state lines? He was doing it in Minnesota across state lines, and eventually said, what? I got to come down here for this. He started with 1 home. He's up to 4 homes now. He's doing phenomenal. These 2 do it across state lines. They're in Alabama. They do their home in Georgia. That's where they're doing their home. They have a couple projects they're working on here in Arizona. Again, what's holding you back? These 2 right here in our backyard, Scottsdale, their goal is to do 100 homes and sell it off to the hedge funds. How big do you want to take it? And these 2 in Rhode Island, when they took the course, they went to the state. They said, we want to start the home. And the state said, well, you can't do that. He said, what do you mean you can't do that? He said, well, no one's ever done this before. And they said, well, and they called us. We said, all right, let's talk this through. And we said, how can we do this? And they said, well, or we said, why can't we do this? They said, well, no one's ever done this before. And so we actually walked them through with the state to get the first residential assisted living home up and running in the state of Rhode Island. And the state is saying, do more, do more. Cedric and Michelle, they're in California. You want to live in the Golden Coast? It costs you a lot to live over there. There's a reason why I like living here in Arizona. Their home, it's a 6-bed home, $8,000 a month to be in their home, and they're full with the waiting list. These guys are in Utah. They're doing awesome. They actually fixed and flipped their home. These guys are in Kentucky, and this gentleman, he was from Canada. He actually invests in the U.S. So what's holding you back? You know, if all this did was bring you in an extra $5,000 a month, would it be worth it? If it gave you that kick in the butt to finally get moving towards your goals, would it be worth it? And if it freed up your time to be with your friends and your family and eliminate that need to go out to work every day, would it be worth it? You know, I told you we're going to be doing something special with that home study course. 1997, I want to make this decision incredibly easy for you. For you here today on this webinar, 997 for you. This is for you here. This is for you here now. And I want to just take away any second guessing, anything like that. I want to make sure that this is right for you. 30-day money back guarantee. If you go through that first section and for any reason you find it, you know what, maybe it's not the right business for me. Maybe it's not this. You let us know. 100% satisfaction guarantee. You let us know and we'll figure that out. You know, we want to make sure that you love this, that you're the right person for it. So this is something where you're saying, I do want to do this. Get started. What is holding you back? Well, I don't have, 1,000. Well, guess what? Trump just gave you 1,200. Now you do. What is holding you back? Take that first step. We want to make sure it's right for you. 30-day satisfaction guarantee. Real quickly, we're also going to include those virtual tour DVDs with you. We actually walk through our homes, show you exactly what we did so you can see it from the inside out. And then our #1 best-selling book, Investing in Senior Housing, as well for you. So just take a minute. Imagine you can do the things that you want. Be with the people that you want to be with. Travel to the places that you want to go. What do you want to do? What is this life all about? Have you been living it the way that you want to, or are you saying, I'm done living that old life and I'm ready to move towards what I want to do? We love getting to work with the family, being with each other. This is us in Park City last year. My wife loves Disney, and we tried to go to all of them. And over here on the right is us in Paris, and over on the left is us in California. What are the things that you want to do? What's holding you back? For me, I had a fear of flights. Face it. Look at my face. That's a smile on that face. The only thing that would have made that day better is if that wasn't a man on my back right there. But besides that, it was an incredible day. What are the things that you want? I had been wanting to do this for a long time, but eventually I just said, I'm drawing the line in the sand. Now is my time. I'm doing it. And I did whatever it took, and I got on that stage because I wanted to share that message with the world. And I'll share that with you when that comes out. Being able to be with the family. Do the things that you want. My father, he loves traveling. He loves cruises. What are the things that you love? My father's my hero because when he was down and out, when he lost his dream car, when he lost it all, he didn't give up. And he didn't quit. He said, I'm going to do whatever it takes, and I'm going to make it happen. So what are the things that you want? What's holding you back? Get started. Make it happen. Do the things that you were meant to do. So I want to thank all of you for coming on. I want to say do good and do well. Your success is up to you. And, right now, here's the big thing. Knowledge is the key. We went over the tip of the iceberg. But again, I just want to leave this up here. We're going to take a break and this and that. But for the next 30 minutes, I'm going to show you how to get that home study course. You're going to go to www.ralsystem.com with the promo code HSC. And Scott, we're going to go ahead so they can go ahead and figure that out, grab lunch. Now's the time for that next 30 minutes, 997 for that home study course. And I want to thank you for taking this time to be with us here today and to learn and to improve yourself. Now is the time to sharpen those skills so when that opportunity comes, you're ready. And so I thank you for letting me come on. Thank you for letting me speak with you. And Scott, I'll bring it back to you.
All right, man. Well, yeah, we've typed in that link into the chat roll so you guys can click on it. And all you got to type in is the HSC special code. Did have a couple questions. Awesome question here for you. Somebody asked a question, with everything that's going on right now with COVID-19, how do you deal with seniors who are at the highest risk for something like that and do not want to live with others and be exposed to all those people that come in and out?
Such a great question. A big thing that's going on right now, we talk about, a lot of people, when I'm talking around the country, they say, I got a 300 unit building coming up or 1,000 beds, over here that's coming into my, city. Think about that for a second. there's 1,000 people there. Think about how many people going in and out, in and out. If one person gets that, that means those 1,000 people have that chance of getting that. So with our homes, we're doing 6 people, 10 people, 15 people in a home. There's much, much less people in that home. The other thing is people need to make sure that they understand in our homes, I thought it was just hilarious when all this was coming out. They were saying, hey, make sure you're not touching your face or touching your mouth or, doing all these things. Wash your hands. And I'm going, wait a minute. We were always supposed to be doing these things. What were people doing? Like licking their hands like this and shaking hands? It's like, we're always supposed to be doing those things. So we make sure to take those precautions as well. We've been doing those well before they were telling us to do those. So that's one of the big things there as well.
Cool.
What else?
Nancy asked a question here. She goes, do you ever run into problems with getting permitted in those neighborhoods that you're buying in?
That's a great question. One of the things we talked about is that federal fair housing law. I just talked about it very briefly. One of the things in there is you cannot discriminate against the elderly. Sometimes people say, well, you can't run a business out of your home. I'm running a residential assisted living home. You have to think about that. Let's say the HOA says, hey, you can't run that business out of your home. Well, pause. I work out of my home office. And let's say in that neighborhood, are there some lawyers who live here? Are there some accountants who live here? Some realtors who live here? Do they have a home office? Well, yeah, but it's different. Oh, okay. Because, why don't we do this? We won't even charge any money. We'll just be a non-for-profit and we'll operate it. Well, no, you can't. Okay, so pause. You're directly discriminating then against the elderly. Well, no, it's not. And so the HOAs, this is a big thing to understand. You can do one of these homes wherever you want, but here's the big thing. Just because you can does not mean you should. So one of the big things we always recommend is doing them in the right locations. If I'm in an area that has an HOA, I'd much rather do it in an area without an HOA. And I travel to Texas sometimes and like 80-90% of their homes are in HOAs. But think about it. How many of these homes do we not only need to get by, but to thrive? We're talking about 1 or 2 or 3 homes. So sometimes people say, well, if 80% of the homes are off the market, okay, so you have 3,000 options left over that are for sale. Can you find one option out of 3,000 that could work for this? And that's a really important thing. So picking the right location is crucial. Being in the right market, knowing the rules of the game, that's incredibly important as well. And that's something we go over too, is showing you exactly how to do that, how to research that, because every state has rules. Every city will have their own rules. So picking that location is crucial. That's a really big thing. And sometimes we get calls and, it's unfortunate where people will say, hey, we just bought this home. It's perfect for residential assisted living. Can you take a look at it? And we said, well, we never recommend buying a home before the course. And then we look at it and we go, oh, no, did you look at this? Oh, I did it. And then it's wrong. So 100% of the times we always say, do not buy a home before taking that training, because exactly that question. You want to make sure you're in the perfect neighborhood. And one of the things also, there's about 30,000 of these homes in the U.S. currently right now. If you think about that, it's like, what, 30,000 of these homes, they hide in plain sight. I live here in Arizona, which is the nicknamed for God's waiting room. All right.
I thought that was Florida.
Joke, all right. But God's waiting room, right? Bit of a joke. When I tell colleagues or people that I talk to, yeah, I do, residential assisted living. Sometimes people say, well, what's that? I don't even understand that. We have thousands of homes in our state, and people who live here don't even quite understand it sometimes. So they hide in plain sight, but picking the right location is crucial. So great question.
See, Melanie asked a question. Do you have to keep being certified?
Can you say that one again?
Melanie asked, do you have to keep being certified?
Oh, great question. So there's a certification process that you're going to go through. The state and the city, they're going to make sure that, the home is appropriate for this. And really what they want to make sure is there's a licensing process. They're making sure of 2 things. The first one is, who is running this home? Is this someone who just got out of jail for elder abuse? That's not the person. They want to make sure that the right people are running it. And the second thing is they want to make sure that the home is senior friendly and ready to go for those residents in the home. So that's the licensing process. You go through it. They make sure that the right people are running it. They make sure that the home is safe. And so that's something that you do. They're going to check on that home about once a year, sometimes about once every other year, depending on your state, where you are. But they want to make sure that things are being run properly. And that's a really important thing, because if someone's not running something properly, we want them out. We want them gone. So it's really good that they do that. But for the people who are running the homes well and professionally, that's not really a big concern from that standpoint.
Sure. Now, Nancy also has questions, is how do you figure in cost to convert or build? I think this goes in that line where you want to make sure you know what you're looking at before you go out and buy and build something and a rehab something, correct?
Exactly. You know, that's a really big thing. My favorite subject back in high school, besides, PE or physical education, was algebra. I loved algebra because it was really fun. X plus Z, minus this divided by that equals this. It was really fun. It was kind of a math equation. You had to figure it out. And so when you're looking at homes for this purpose, when you're researching a market, there's really 5 things that you want to do. The first one is you want to know the rules of the game. So we talked about that in the last question there. You got to know the rules of the game. What do they allow? What are the rules I got to do? What hoops do I have to jump through? The second thing is go to the obvious areas first. So if I said, what are the obvious areas in Phoenix for residential assisted living? Where are there older, an older population? Where is there a little bit more money? You'd say, well, even if somebody didn't live here, they'd say Scottsdale, Paradise Valley, Phoenix. They'd probably get 2 out of the 3 or 1 out of the 3. Those are your obvious areas. Then I want to go to those areas. I want to see what are the rules of the game there. And then I want to do the third step, which is researching the competition. What is everybody else charging? Are people charging $10,000 in my market, $5,000, $6,000? What type of quality of homes do they have? What type of facilities do they have? Why are they able to charge this and other people are charging this? What's the difference? So researching that competition. At that point, I'm going to have that understanding of, okay, I understand that, let's say for an example in Arizona, let's say that a $500,000 home is getting rates of $4,000 a month. I know I can make $10,000 a month with the numbers. If I have 10 residents, let's use that first example I was going through. With that math, if I'm making $10,000 a month on a $500,000 investment, that's a really good investment at that point. So we want to make sure we know our numbers. What type of home am I going to have to provide? How many residents can I have? What can I charge? All of those are going to play a factor into that. And we show you exactly how to do that. We break that down for you. Cool. The fourth step is once you have that math equation, that algebra equation settled, then the fourth step is getting the money for that. So raising the capital, getting your business plan ready. Again, show you how to do that. Talking to those investors, those partners, because you don't want to talk to a partner and not be prepared. And be saying, I don't really know what I'm doing. You want to be really prepared. And that, again, that REL Associate certification shows that, hey, I've learned from the #1 group that teaches on how to run residential assisted living homes. I'm certified through them. I've learned exactly how to do this. This is why this is a good place to do it. Here's the cash flow we're going to make. Here's how much it's going to cost. And you already know that. And then the fifth step, the final step, which everyone wants to do this one first, is actually go out and buy that home. And so it's really important that we do those steps in the right order, because if we try to find the right home, then the money, then the competition, then the rules, then it can be very, very complicated. So that's what it's all about, is saving that time, saving that effort, going through that the right way.
So you can't do this with none of your own money. This is another question from somebody as well.
Absolutely. One of the big things, some of our students, what they're doing now is, I mentioned that one student there, 5 residential assisted living homes. He's working on 2 80-bed facilities. Each one of those projects, it's about a $12 million project that he's doing for those homes. But you got to start with that first home. And, he's made it up to that point where he's raising, tens of millions of dollars. But that first home, he approached that investor and he was prepared. Les Brown, it's better to be prepared without an opportunity than have an opportunity and not be prepared. He went into that meeting and he said, this is why I want to do it here. Here's my business plan. This is how much it's going to cost. Here's the return. Here's why I'm a good investment. Because whenever we're raising capital, it really is secondarily about the actual project. When someone is raising capital and you're asking someone for that investment, that's an investment in you. That's what that is. Someone can have a great deal, but if you don't trust that person, you're not going to invest with them. So you always have to think about that from the other side, is when they're investing, that's an investment in you. And the deal is secondary. That's just numbers, figuring things out. But knowing how to present yourself is incredibly important, and something we go over as well. Great question.
Just a couple more questions here. Is it pretty easy to source your operators and tenants? I'm sure you go through that in the training. We got a question from Mike on that. Yeah.
One of the great things about residential assisted living is, some people who are landlords, they've had tenants where they're like, man, I wish I could kind of deny this person or this or that or that or that. And, with what we're doing, we are not a tenant landlord agreement when someone's staying in one of our homes. It's a service agreement. So here's what I mean by that. If I walk into the Outback Steakhouse And let's say I eat, the shrimp and lobster, I eat some meal and, they come by with the bill and I say, oh, I'm not going to pay for that. I'm now a tenant of the building. It's going to take you 90 days for you to kick me out, eviction notice. They would laugh and they would be like, okay, I'll come back in 5 minutes. And if I did the same thing again 5 minutes later, they'd say, okay, let's get the bus boys and they're going to pick me up and they're going to throw me out on the curb like a funny comedy movie, right? However, what we're doing is, not the same as that. We're not throwing anybody out on the street, but we're a service agreement. It's not a tenant-landlord agreement. So there's really 3 reasons why if someone's not the right fit, we can ask them to move on and we can, get them to move into a new home. And those 3 things would be this. First one is if someone cannot afford to pay, again, what we can do at that point is say, all right, you know what? The rate at this home is $4,000 a month, but we're going to allow you to go on state pay and stay here for $2,000 a month. Now you can do that sometimes. That's what we call a give back. We're helping those people. But if I do that with all of my residents, now I'm not running a business. Now I'm running a charity. So I can't do that with everyone. And so we have to be selective with that. And that's an important thing because you need to have a fine balance. You got to do good, do well. That's very, very important. And the other things are the 2 is that if someone is too high of a level of care, then we can ask them to move on. And you have to think about it. It's a much different psychology when we're dealing with someone's family member. This is their mother, their father, and usually they're helping out with the finances. The resident who's living in the home, usually they've signed away their money, their power of attorney, all these things. And so that family, they're going, okay, if we're telling the family, we cannot take care of your mom, we cannot take care of your dad, they're too high of a level of need. They're not going to say, no, you try harder, you work hard. They're going to say, thank you for letting us know where can we move our mom? And we're going to help them with that process. We're going to walk them through that. And then the third thing is, if someone is not the right fit, what I mean by that is, let's say someone likes using 4-letter words. I love the show Curb Your Enthusiasm, but every time I watch it, I start saying too many bad words, right? If somebody's in the home and they're real, their energy is not right, or maybe it's the family members who come in and visit and their energy isn't right, we can ask them to move on. Because again, just like if I go into the Outback Steakhouse and I, start screaming a bunch of swear words, they would not allow me to be in that restaurant anymore. So it's the same idea there. But finding the residents on that line too, incredibly important. Again, there's 3 big things that we need to remember to be successful. Because this year, assisted livings, people will expand their business. They'll open up tons of doors. And then there's other people who will go out of business. Look at restaurants right now. This is what's incredible. Is restaurants right now in our country, there's some that are closing their doors one after another. And then there's other restaurants. I went to the one down the street just the other night. Cars wrapped around the building. They're doing phenomenal. And so here's the thing. There's 3 main factors. We got to be in the right location. We're not going to do this in the middle of nowhere, and just hope people come. No. We got to be in the right location. So where are the older population? Where are they, a higher than average income? Where are those areas? Let's be in the right area. The second thing, a great piece of real estate. They walk in, they say, I want to move in here, let alone my mom or dad. I want to be here. So we got the bedrooms, the bathrooms, all these things. And the third one is running a great business. So the marketing, the staffing, the food that you're serving, all of these things, running that great business. And when you do those 3 things, those people are wildly successful. If you go on LoopNet right now, you can find a bunch of assisted livings for sale. But again, you look at them and you go, why are those ones for sale? And why are other people opening up more doors? Well, again, location, real estate, or the business. Those people have a problem with 1, 2, or 3. So if you do those 3 things the right way, you're going to be very, very successful in this, or have a very high probability of success from that standpoint. So I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. 2 final questions and we'll let you go. Is it a dramatic increase in insurance costs to do this in front of the house? And do you have any other books that you or your father might have, any other publications?
What was the second question there? Sorry.
You guys have any other books besides the one that you mentioned?
You know what? We have a brand new book that we're going to be releasing very soon. So be on the lookout for that. Make sure to be on the lookout. But the first question was insurance costs. The insurance that we have is called professional liability insurance for residential assisted living in a group home setting. And so it just rolls right off the tongue, doesn't it? And so that insurance policy, it's about $1 per day per resident. So if you have 10 residents, 30 days in a month, $300 over the course of the month, that covers them up to about $1 million. Can use that policy up to 3 times. Now, 100% get the insurance, get that. Some people say, well, I don't need insurance. Don't do that, right? Because you don't know. That's what insurance is for. You know, we get those things because you never know what can happen. However, that's what the insurance is for. It's about $1 a day per resident, and it covers them. So whether there's something that happens, you know, that's what that's for. So you always make sure that you have that insurance policy, and that goes into the expenses, and that's something we go over as well. It's a great question.
Awesome, man. Well, Emmanuel, thank you for coming out on Saturday. Great information to everybody out there. Lots of great questions. Once again, guys, use the link ralsystem.com, special code HSC to get signed up today for you. So, hey, enjoy the rest of your weekend, Emmanuel. Thanks for coming out today.
Well, thank you. I'll stop sharing and I'll turn the camera off. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Great. Thanks, man. Great. All right. So let's do this. All right, everybody. We're going to take basically a 25-minute lunch break here. And as long as questions kept coming in, I was going to keep answering for you. So